Next, we have to talk about the CSS framework. Okay, what is the CSS framework? CSS framework is pre-created set of CSS classes or other software tools that will make you easier to develop the CSS. That means framework, it's like you have used, like take example, you were using Java programming, right? When you want to run the Java program, there is a two method. One method is that you go to the command prompt, change the path, and then you write. Then accordingly, this has to be, you'll be keep writing. But what happened? We don't have a good interface where everything automatically it's come and together. Then what happened? IDE came, right? You are using Eclipse or you are using NetBeans. What happened? It's a framework. It's easily you can drag and drop just a tools, a software tools. Using that, easily it will create all the entire architecture. And just create file, new project, it will done. But in Java, you have to create separately folder every time. That's using the command prompt I'm talking. Same way, in the CSS also, you have the framework and the predefined tools, the classes, a set of classes will be there. Automatically, it will get created when you choose that. And here, there are two main types of CSS framework, that is grid system and CSS preprocessors. What is the grid system? Grid system make it easier to create multi-column layout. Grid, right? This is the grid only, right? You have, this is the grid. This is the grid. How many column you want? So it will be used for the making multi-column layout. And there are many CSS grid system. And when you want to use, the example is here like twitter.github.com/bootstrap. If you go to this path, you will get by default the grid system bootstrap code. When you use blueprints css.org, even you will get 960gs, even you will get it. And the most important of this capability is a grid system, development of grid system. And CSS framework will provide similar to the grid system, and the 960 framework uses either 12 or 16 column grid, and bootstrap will use only 12 column grid. This blueprint, it uses 24 column. The grid is constructed using division element. As I mentioned, whenever you are going to develop, always use div tag and with class defined with the framework. And this HTML element for the rest of your site, that will be placed within the division element. You can see here, this is the grid system identified, right? Wherever you want, you can take it accordingly. You can see the website and you will get to know that. You can see the example over here, right? When I'm taking they will give you the CSS. Now, when you use in the website HTML, you can see I'm using here division. No paragraph is there. Division container 12. That means 12 grid it will create. Grid 2 we want, left column. When you want main content, I'll use grid 7. So this all, whatever we have used here, the class, that is the grid layout, that is a framework, that it all, the practice will give you that exactly how you are going to create the layout. Same way you can see here, when you take from bootstrap, automatically it will give the bootstrap.css. Just implement that, accordingly the CSS will get implemented in your code. You can see here, this is the example over here. You will get here. About the CSS preprocessor. CSS preprocessor also is it's a tools that will allow you, that means a developer, to write the CSS and that take advantage of programming ideas, such as you are using variable, you are using inheritance, calculations, functions. This all will be used in the CSS preprocessor. A CSS processor is a tool that take code written in some type of pre-processed language. You have used some other language to use, and that you are going to convert into normal CSS. That is the actually help of CSS preprocessor. And the advantage of this using CSS preprocessor is that it can provide additional functionality that are not available by default CSS. That means it will add some more functionality. In a programming language, generally you know that very well, a developer will use variable, nesting, functions, inheritance, and so many other things. And also to avoid copy paste and search and replace, everything will be using. And CSS preprocessors such as less and SAS, okay, and stylus will provide this type of functionality. If you use this types of functionality, then you can use in the CSS preprocessor. You can see here how the SAS will be there and how it is going to be changed. You can see here I am using dollar symbol, color scheme A, color code. You can see that you are using like a function here. You can see here how differently we are defining the variable and everything. And this will be automatically, it will be created into the preprocessor, and it will go to the SAS processor, and then it will be converted into the CSS, and it will give you the result. You can see here, right? So the moment you wrote this way the coding, and once you use SAS preprocessor, that means in CSS preprocessor, it will convert accordingly whatever you want. This is the CSS file will get generated here. Even you can do with help of the coding. Open. You can see that you'll be getting the first website, that is getbootstrap.com. Open that website. It will give you the entire structure, right? You can use, you can see here they are using CDN. Okay, you can use directly, or even you can do, if you want not to use CDN, you want to write download this code and then implement, just copy this code, open the browser, paste it, you will see that this code, and copy entirely and save this into this name. If you don't want to do this, definitely they will be giving download option. You can see that even how the template it is going to start. You can see here even viewport we are creating, width, device width, initial scale is equal to 1, and shrink to fit no, right? Now it is getting defined here. And what are the meta tag you are going to use? Everything. So you have the here option download. If you go to download option, you can see here download option. The moment if I go to download, the compiled CSS and JavaScript which you need for your development of the bootstrap, you can just click on download. Even if you want source file, you can take it from that. If you want CDN to use, you can use the CDN. Okay, the whichever way you want, you can use. See here, suppose if I download this, let's see that. Okay, and why we use here CDN? The CDN is nothing, your content delivery network. Okay, because whenever you use this into website, because that CDN is already exists somewhere, it is the compressed version, and so your website will load faster. That is the actually advantage of using CDN. You can see here the CSS and JavaScript is available. Now you just add entire thing into your application, and whatever that you want, you can use whichever the CSS file you need. You have to implement accordingly in your application. Even example will be there. Even you can download some example. Even you can see here you have the build tools. You can see the setup the tools. Even you can use npm, and you can see using SAS auto prefixer and uglify.js. It's all tools are available. You can use this one, whichever you want. It's totally depend on you, your choice, whichever you want to use in your application. We have used here one more, that is, let's say this one. It does not exist. There might be a remote. Okay. 960.gs. Let's see, this exists. Yeah, this is also exists. See, you can even download, you can use according. You can see that the Drupal, they use the Sony music, that if you want to make the template like this, it's all, you can able to see the grid. It will ask you, okay, show the grid. You can see the grid, how the grid has been used in this application. This is how you have to find out and you have to implement this. That's all for the